AEW Dynasty 2025 results. Unbelievable. Wrong call. Horrible decision. Absolutely hated it. I'm talking about Jon Moxley. I'm talking about Swerve Strickland. I'm talking about the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I'm talking about a 4.5-hour main card pay-per-view event ending with the Young Bucks returning to help Jon Moxley retain the World Championship. Horrific. Horrific. Everyone going into Revolution thought it was going to be Adam Copeland that would save us from this horrific storyline that is the Death Riders. Oh no, we thought Swerve Strickland was going to be the savior coming into Dynasty to end the Death Riders, to end this horrific storyline. Oh no, there's more. This match was okay. It was okay. It was plodding. It was slow. But now we have the Young Bucks return. We have the Young Bucks return and align with Jon Moxley. We don't know why. The announcers could not even comprehend what was going on. Absolutely horrific booking. It has to end. This world title reign with Jon Moxley has to end. So let's start at the very top. Will Osprey, Kevin Knight, Owen Hart Foundation tournament. The first of 3 Owen Hart Foundation tournaments. It was good. It was really, really good. Was it necessarily on the level of a Will Osprey main event? No. Kevin Knight is very good. He's still also pretty green, and I thought Will Osprey carried him to a great match. Or at least a good match. Kevin Knight has something. They just got to hone in on that. He's still green, but he's got a lot of upside, and obviously Will Osprey, most likely the favorite to win this tournament. We're going to see where everything else shakes out, but I thought AEW did a fine job with this match and the booking of these two. The Hurt Syndicate successfully defended the AEW Tag Team titles over Brian Keith and Big Bill. That's not surprising, is it? But what is interesting? Well, I'll tell you. So the finish of this match, which was fine, it was what it was, it had outside interference from one MJF. Now, keep in mind that MVP has been trying to get MJF to join the Hurt Syndicate, right? I keep waiting on when Cedric Alexander's going to show up, but regardless, MJF helped the tag team champions go over, and that just adds to the storyline, and just adds to the development, and it adds to this ongoing situation. I don't think MJF is going to be necessarily joining the Hurt Syndicate. Is the prospect of him doing so intriguing? Yes. But I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think you should expect it either. But that's just me. Mercedes Moné squared off with Julia Hart in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, the only female match of this tournament on this card. It was good. The fans, they weren't buying into the initial start. I mean, Mercedes Moné basically dominated this match, but then towards the end, they were doing a lot of near falls, quick roll-ups, and Hart, at one point had locked in her submission finisher, and that was a very nice little tease, if you will. Very interesting to see whether or not she would actually win this match, which would be absolutely massive. But as you all know, that didn't happen. It was Mercedes Moné going over Julia Hart. That was the right decision. That was the right call. And I'm intrigued to see if Mercedes Moné actually makes it all the way and goes with Toni Storm. I think so. That's the biggest match AEW can make, but time will tell whether or not they actually pull the trigger and make the match happen. AEW Trios Championship bout. You know the song and dance. It was the Death Riders, this storyline, and the FTR. So the Death Riders, they went over. They won. They retained their titles. What happened? Well, Adam Copeland, Cope, if you will, he was going to go for a spear, but he accidentally ran into Dax Harwood, allowing you to hit a running knee to Dax and getting the 1-2-3. Cool, right? After the match, well, things got interesting. So Dax hit a pile driver to Cope, and then Wheeler shoved him off, played it up, before they absolutely demolished this man. They crushed him. They hit a pile driver on a chair. They hit the shatter machine. They hit the concerto to Copeland. He's going to be out for at least a month. Okay? Everyone and their dog thinks that Christian and Edge, or Christian and Cope, if you will, are going to reunite. I think it's going to happen as well, but we'll see how they exactly get there is the big question. So Toni Storm put the Women's Championship on the line against Megan Bayne. No one gave Megan Bayne a chance in this match, and rightfully so. She was not going to win this match. She shouldn't have won this match. She didn't win this match, but it was a shining moment, and there can be a lot of criticism of Toni Storm, but I will say this. As a Toni Storm fan, you may not like the gimmick, you may not like her matches, although this was a pretty good match and definitely a step up from her regulars. She does make other talent. She really does. She does put a spotlight on them. She helps build them up, make them bigger stars, and I absolutely love that about her. So, say what you want about Toni Storm. You don't have to be a fan of her, but she did quite well in this match. And I thought both women looked very, very good in this performance. So we had another Owen Hart Foundation Tournament first round match. It was Kyle Fletcher taking on Mark Briscoe. This match went a little too long for my liking, but I also think that they worked hard. They really, really did. Mark Briscoe, perfect babyface to an evil Kyle Fletcher. And Kyle Fletcher has something. He really, really does. He was made a star in the Will Osprey feud and their last outing at Revolution. He is a legit star. He lets the part, he adds the part. He is the typical despicable, hated heel villain role. I mean, he plays it to a T, and having Don Callis there only helps intensify his heat with those in attendance, and I just think he plays the part extremely, extremely well. So hats off to Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe for doing a fine job here. Adam Cole is now the new TNT champion. He went at it with Daniel Garcia. It was more of a technical battle, a slower paced battle, but they worked hard. They really, really did. And I think if you look at the way that AEW has presented Adam Cole, I think most people would agree that this was long overdue. I mean, he has been in this company for several years now. We are far removed from, when he and Bryan Danielson shot the world and showed up in AEW. But look, Daniel Garcia, he's still very young. He's very talented. But it was Adam Cole's night. Adam Cole earned this shot. Adam Cole earned the chance to be a TNT champion. And they put on a pretty decent match here. International champion Kenny Omega, Mike Bailey, and Ricochet put on the match of the night, and it wasn't even close. These guys did a banger after banger after banger. The only issue I had with it is they did so many near falls over the course of 30 minutes that it got repetitive. But regardless, Kenny Omega went over and absolutely crushed. Now, after the match, Okada came out. Now, of course, everybody thinks that they are going to be doing a unificational bout. Okada, Omega, Continental, International Championships on the line, all in Texas this July. I think that's what we're going for. I think that's what we're building to. But until then, yeah, quite fun if I say so myself.